Political will and popular will. Unless we decide we want to do this, and unless we recognize that doing this is in our self-interest and affords more opportunities and fewer risks, we will not do it. Well, it'll be a challenge. The interesting thing to note is that we can do it at very little cost. So the challenge is not actually a technological one. It's not an economic one. It's a political one, it's a cultural one, and it's an institutional one. And so it's the politics and the culture and institutions that we need to focus in order to liberate and generate the innovation that's going to allow us to get to net zero by 2050, which we should be able to do with relative ease and not only create a world that's cleaner, quieter, safer, and more secure, but also more efficient, more productive, and more innovative. Well, the economic impacts are, it requires investment. That is a real economic impact. But most of the impacts are perceived, actually. They're less economic, as I say, and they're more political and behavioral. People don't like changing the way they do things. Change is always disruptive, and people don't like disruption. Even in the west coast of California, disruption is just that, disruptive. Even if you can provide a better, superior economic system that will leave people better off in the long run, the default, unless there's a reason to provide the innovation and to change behavior, is to carry on do things the way we've always done them. We are now going to have cheaper electricity than we would with fossil fuels, and cheaper, better performing cars than we would with a combustion engine. We could have had those decades ago. We're going to have those whether you care about the climate or not. Why don't we instigate the innovation that's necessary in other sectors to bring about better performing goods and services? Well, the reason why we don't is it's disruptive to do so. So we have to overcome those challenges and those barriers and those investment costs if we are to deliver the better future. Better not just environmentally, but also economically and socially. It's a huge economic opportunity. Why do we need inefficiency? Why should we not want greater innovation? Why should we not want to get more out of the resources we have? That's what productivity is about. It means that you can have higher incomes at the same time as using fewer material resources. So the effort to dematerialize and decarbonize is one that generates a huge amount of innovation and substantial economies of scale in discovery, in production, and in distribution, which leaves us all better off and allows us to have a cleaner and safer and more livable environment. There's no one leader, there's no one technology, there's no one policy. We need a degree of collective action born of a common understanding of the risks and opportunities. And then you get leaders in business, working with leaders in government, working with leaders in civil society, all pushing in the same direction. And then the policies also become self-reinforcing and they become credible. Because there's no point putting ambitious carbon policies when they're so deeply unpopular that all you're going to get is riots in the streets and political protests. If you don't bring the people along with you, if businesses don't see the business opportunity, and if governments don't see that this is an electoral opportunity, or at least in more authoritarian states, less of a political risk to their authority, then you're not going to make the progress. So it really has to push in all the directions. The nice thing is that a lot of the complementarities and feedbacks make that entirely possible. Because you invest in this stuff, the costs come down, that makes it much more politically popular. Nobody wants higher electricity bills or more expensive cars. When the costs come down, it's much easier to support clean, it's much easier for business lobbies to push for government action, and it's much easier for governments to take the appropriate action as well. So it needs leadership at the start to start that process. But once you get on that track, if we get on that track, then it could be relatively easy to deliver.